Right. So welcome to Advanced Trailblazers. This is a taster session to give you a flavour of what Advanced Trailblazers is like. This is a session that I delivered last half term, and we were doing a bit of non-fiction analysis, and then we looked at a modern non-fiction and compared it with the one that we're going to look at today, and that's where the session sat amongst the term's work. Advanced Trailblazers usually runs for 5 weeks of every school half term, and we tend to focus on a range of GCSE skills. So it might be comparing or evaluating, language analysis. We do lots of language analysis, comparing writers' perspectives, a bit of creative writing, non-fiction writing. So all of those things that you would normally expect to see in an English language exam. And a lot of those skills, of course, are transferable to English literature. So it really helps with that one as well. So you will notice that your mics are set to off. Your videos are optional. Like I said at the start, they're not included in the recording. And you can interact in the chat box with me, ask me questions, share ideas. And of course, in the breakout rooms, you'll be able to discuss your ideas with each other too. So to get us started, get our brains working, because of course it is approaching 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night, I'd like you to write an extended simile about this image. Now you can pick any aspect of the image, and an extended simile is where you have your simile when you say something is like something else or is as something else, and you extend it with another clause or more description, more imagery. Share your ideas in the chat box and I look forward to reading them. That's a great start, Bob. The tea was like a burning fire inside a cold winter night. Maybe you could add a clause onto the end of that. So, comma, and then something like um, warming those that enjoyed it. Really nice, Matthew. Well done. The cup of tea radiated heat like the sun upon a bright summer's day. Oh, Alina, this sounds good. My mind was simmering wildly like a steaming hot cup of tea, threatening to scald at any moment, at any minute. Really nice, Alina. And what I particularly like about yours is that you've started with something different and then that leads into the simile. Good. This is the one I came up with. The morning light reflected off the pristine china like sparks of lightning, giving her tea a cosmic, otherworldly appearance. Ah, Lilia, hello. Lilia says the steam wafted from the cup like dragon's breath, sassy and lazy as it danced, biting skin with the same heat of the scalding liquid inside. Very good, Roy. By the way, that was wonderful, Lilia, as always. Alex says the sweet aroma of tea filled the room like mist over the hilltops. Oh, that's such nice imagery of sort of like the smell of a cup of tea floating around. Very nice. Some really lovely ideas, guys. Well done. Hopefully now your brains feel a little bit warmed up and ready to do some analysis. Very good, Ditia. Very nice, Elodie. Well done. Okay, so the question that we're going to try and write an answer to in today's session is how does the writer use language to describe the importance of tea? Now, you were all sent an extract before the session, so hopefully you've had a chance to read that, although we will read it through now. And this question is quite standard for a language question. It probably sounds quite familiar to you if you're in year 10 or year 11. you usually will have a language question like, how does the writer use language to describe the weather or show the friendship or describe the beach? And this in this session, we're going to look at how the writer uses language to describe the importance of tea. So first of all, I'm going to clarify some of the language and vocabulary that I use. So when I'm talking about language features, language techniques, language devices, or even just language, it's I mean all of the same things. I use those terms interchangeably. Some of you, your teachers might use features, your teachers might use techniques, devices. We're all talking about the same thing. So it's from the simplest feature, so adjectives, adverbs, those simple things in those simple language features that we can pick out, all the way through to the more unusual ones. Okay, like conceits and so on. Writers use these features to communicate ideas and create exciting writing. We're going to read the extract now, and whilst we read it, see if you can annotate the extract for as many different language features as possible. You don't need to annotate every adjective, but if you see a really good one, or if there's a, a simile or use of ellipsis, then annotate it on the extract. So, usually in Advanced Trailblazers, I do try to invite everybody to read sections of the extract, but because it's a brand new group together today, and there are lots of you, there's not normally this many people in an Advanced Trailblazers group, I will read it and then we'll move straight on. A little chat about tea. This 1852 article considers the importance and effect of tea drinking on society. It's from The Leisure Hour, a general interest periodical. Periodical is like a magazine that comes out maybe every couple of months or a couple of times a year. Of all the varied productions of the vegetable kingdom, there is scarcely any one that has acquired so much importance as tea. What images of happiness does the very name array before our eyes? How many delightful hours does recall? To an Englishman's mind, it is a word of enchantment. It speaks to him of quiet evenings, cheerful faces, buoyant spirits, and sober mirth. It stands before him all day like a beckoning angel and cheers him through the toils and vexations of business by unfolding to his fancy a home where all are waiting to welcome him. The tea table is an important element in the history of the nation. It gathers around it the expression of half our social life. If this article of furniture had only been gifted with the double facility of understanding everything uttered in its vicinity and profiting by what it heard, how wise it would have grown, how many secrets have been whispered over it, how many plans have been laid upon it, to how many fair hopes has it ministered support, and to how many doubts has it. What should we do without it? Tea is a benefactor to all. It is endowed with sovereign delicacy against the crowd of little assailants which make war on social enjoyment. It soothes the nervous, cheers the desponding, and enlivens the dull. Still more important effects may be traced up to this potent source. The plaintiff rejoicing in the verdict, which has just been pronounced in his favour, little dreams how close a connection exists between that powerful statement of fact and eloquent appeal which carried his cause and a few cups of tea. But for this humble helpmate, the poet's imagination would often have drooped its wing, and the philosophers have sunk overwhelmed in the midst of his gigantic labours. All honour, then, to the bubbling and loud hissing urn. It is only an act of decent gratitude to recount its praises. Tea is a universal favourite, not only with ourselves, but also with other nations. No other candidate for our goodwill can boast so many certificates of merit. We read on its ample testimonial the names of almost every people under heaven. Here is a common point of union for all the races of mankind. The Caucasian here shakes hands with the Malay, English, Dutch, Russian. The inhabitants of the hottest and coldest climes alike attest its exhilarating virtues. This wondrous beverage seems actually endowed with the most opposite properties. It warms us in winter and refreshes us in summer, soothes and yet stimulates, fits us equally for action or repose. Born in the land of silk and cotton, it forms with them a truly illustrious trio. But though the youngest of the three, it is the greatest favourite and is a welcome guest with millions to whom its associates are strangers. Okay, so I'm hoping that when you read it before the session, that you checked any unfamiliar vocabulary because it is an older piece of writing. It's 175. What was the year on it? Around 175 years old. And obviously the vocabulary and the style of writing is different to the modern day. But I'm hoping what you managed to uh, glean from this is that it's about how important and incredible tea is at bringing people together and solving problems, making people feel relaxed or ready to do things. The fact that we have a cup of tea for all different occasions, and then also that it's a product around the world that brings all different nations together. So, um, what I'd like you to do now is to go into some breakout rooms and share with the people in there any of the language features that you managed to spot. You might say something like, found this really cool adjective, or I really like this description, it personifies tea, or I spotted this simile, or we've got some repetition or hyperbole. Um, and if you've got time in your breakout room, I'd like you to think about the single line that most makes tea sound important. Okay, so you'll all have one line, and I am going to ask you to find that line afterwards, but if you've got time in the breakout room, you can get a head start on that. Right, let's get you all off into the breakout rooms. There we go. Right, we'll take about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes in the breakout rooms, and then we'll come back and carry on. If you haven't gone into the breakout rooms, you could be thinking about that task highlighted in yellow. Which is the single line in the extract that most makes tea sound really important? Right, we'll just wait for everybody to come back from the breakout rooms. But in the meantime, you could be sharing in the chat box which line you think most makes T sound important or makes T sound most important. Right, that's everybody back from the breakout rooms. I'm hoping now at this stage you have got an extract that is annotated with lots of different language features. You've got lots of ideas about how tea is made to sound really important by the writer. And I'm hoping what you'll do now is pick out a line that you think that's the line, that's the one that most makes tea sound important above all other lines in this extract. Share that line with me, please, in the chat box now, and if you can, explain why you've picked it. Really good, Alina. Alina's picked no other candidate for our goodwill can boast so many certificates of merit. It is a blanket hyperbolic statement that makes the reader sit up and take note. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's almost presenting it as factual as well, isn't it? Very good. Would anyone else like to share a line? Felicity says it speaks to him of quiet evenings, cheerful faces, buoyant spirits, and sober mirth. I feel like this line is saying that no matter. I would say this when the ideas come too quickly, the chat box goes too fast for my little eyes to keep up. I feel like it's saying. I feel like this line is saying that no matter what other drinks that are enjoyed, tea will be the favourite. No matter if drunk or sober, tea will still be the favourite. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's an interesting take on it, Felicity. And I think you're right in that the writer is saying that tea is wanted in each of those states. No matter how you're feeling, tea will be the preserve of your evening. Elodie says the first line because it gives a good introduction to the text and almost makes the reader want to continue reading. Okay, is it so? It's got a good hook, has it? Ditia says, all honour then to the bubbling and loud hissing urn. Opposes unfavourable opinions about tea from those who don't like it. Sarcasm is used. Do you know, there is a slightly sarcastic tone throughout, but I do feel like it's a bit sort of dramatic and a bit sort of 19th century, rather than like almost like a speech and a proclamation rather than sarcasm. But I can see what you're saying. It does lean into that a little bit. Alex says it's endowed with sovereign delicacy against the crowd of little assailants which make war on social enjoyment. I love that. I love the idea of little assailants. Lilia says it's endowed with sovereign delicacy against the crowd of little assailants. Another vote for that one. Good choice. The description uses imagery and exaggerations, make it seem like it is a rarity that holds abilities beyond us. Yes, it talks of power, doesn't it? That tea has the power. Also, the use of rule of three makes it sound refined as a paragraph, which further impacts my view on it. Okay, yeah, it reinforces and emphasizes the point, doesn't it? Yeah, Alina said there is a slight smugness in the tone, which is entertaining. Absolutely. Like a proclamation, it has got a proclamation feel to it. Scarlett, hello. I think the line tea is a universal favourite, not only with ourselves, but also with other nations. I believe this is because it demonstrates how tea has clearly been an idea that has been shared around, showing it has significance across a wide diversity, highlighting its importance to citizens. Yeah, it's given sort of global importance in that part of the extract. So that's a really good point that you picked that one out, Scarlett. All of the ideas in the chat box are great. So please do sort of skim through them. And if you like a line that someone's mentioned, make a note on your own extract, because of course the question we're going to try and answer is, how does the writer use language to describe the importance of tea? And we've got lots of great ideas popping up in the chat box already. So we're going to have a look at these three techniques, which you may have come across before. This might be completely new to you. Either way, I think we're all going to learn something. So we've got aphorism, anaphora, and epiphora. Now, I'm not going to read out A, B, and C. I would like you to try and match them, though, to aphorism, anaphora, and epiphora. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do this, because you'll need to read through and probably make a very good educated guess. Now, if you look at the word anaphora and epiphora, you'll notice they are similar. So that might help you try and work out which is which. If you're a quick finisher, you could give an example of your own example of aphorism, anaphora, and epiphora. Well done, Ditia and Lilia. Um, you're correct, both of you. Um, I think it's a testament to how smart you all are that you can make correct, educated guesses. So well done. I will match them up on a screen in a moment. I'll just give everybody a chance to finish off matching them up. Okay. So here we go. So, aphorism is a concise and witty statement that expresses a general truth or observation about life. Might sound a bit philosophical. It's often philosophical or reflective in nature. Aphorisms are used to convey wisdom, provoke thought, or make a memorable thought point. I feel like this extract is littered with aphorisms. Anaphora is words or phrases repeated at the start of a sentence. It creates emphasis, adds rhythm, can evoke an emotional response from the reader. And epiphora is the same thing, but at the end of sentences. Now, you might have worked that out by decoding those words. So, epi is at the start of that, where you have ana at the start of anaphora. If you think of an epilogue is the words, the the section at the end of a text, isn't it? So epi comes then. So well done to everybody who got that correct. And if you didn't, don't worry, you've now learnt something. You are, yeah, well done, Lilia. I've just noticed that I said what you'd already typed. You are very welcome to take photographs at the screen at any point during the session if you think, that might be helpful. What I would like you to do now is find an example of aphorism, anaphora, and epiphora in the text. See if you can find it in the extract, underline it, mark it out, see what you can find. If you do find it, you can share it in the chat box to help other people along. Well done, Cushy. Um, that could be considered an aphorism. Um, a real true aphorism is normally a bit more sort of philosophical, um, but that does work as an aphorism, the one that you've picked. Cushy picked tea is a universal favourite, not only with ourselves, but also with other nations. So, yeah, you could call that an aphorism. Oh, Alina's got examples of anaphora here. How many secrets have been whispered over it? How many plans have been laid upon it? How many fair hopes has it ministered support? And to how many doubts has it given solution? Perfect. There is your example of anaphora in this extract. Lara, the text is the second page of the document with the login details. Okay. Well done, Matthew. Yes, Dietja. Remember, it needs to be like philosophical and reflective, but also hold general truth. Um, so, Dietja, if you think an Englishman thinks, tea, uh, then it's an aphorism. I think you probably agree with me. The idea of an Englishman going, tea, is probably quite accurate. We all do love a cup of tea. Roy says, no other candidate for our goodwill can boast so many certificates of merit. Yeah, good. We haven't had an example of epiphora yet. Has anybody found it? Hopefully, when you all go back to school or your other studies, you'll be spotting anaphora and epiphora in all sorts of extracts now, and you're going to sound super smart whipping out this language feature to discuss with your classmates or teachers. Here we go. So there's an example of aphorism, anaphora, and epiphora on the screen for you. You can mark these out on your sheet if you want to. You might have found other examples. What you'll notice is that the example I've given of epiphora actually falls within the example of anaphora. And that's quite common and perfectly acceptable. And if you were to analyse the use of anaphora, you could weave in the use of epiphora as well. So, for example, that anaphora is using the word how. So, what does the repetition of how tell us about how important tea is or how the writer feels towards tea? And then the repetition of it. Why is it calling it an it? What does that tell us about the tea or how the writer feels about tea? It's almost a magical, mystical thing that we're calling it in this example. Okay, let's move on to thinking about actually writing an analysis now. So this is the question. I'm not sure if it was on your sheet anywhere, so make sure you've written the question down somewhere because you can have a go at it afterwards if we don't finish up in the session. So how does the writer use language to describe the importance of tea? Now, I am quite a fan of the what, where, how, why method. Some people will have what, where, why, how, or PEA or PEEZE. There are lots of different methods of structuring your answer to a standard language analysis question. What ones do you use? If you're a PEA person, let me know. Tell me if you're using petal or peasel. Okay, Cushy uses peel, point, evidence, explain, and link. Elodie uses pearl. Right, I'm guessing now that is that point, evidence, analyze, reader, effect on the reader, and then link. Pedal. Scarlett's using pedal. Point, evidence. What's the D in pedal? DTO, yeah, I used petal for many years as a teacher. Ah, developed analysis, Scarlett. Yeah, that makes sense. And Matthew is another vote for Peel. Good. Okay. Um, in Advanced Trailblazers, I don't try to completely rework your systems you already have, because you will use what you feel comfortable with when you're in Advanced Trailblazers. I make a suggestion with my paragraph structure with what, where, how, why, but you can use your own method. Or you can have a go at mine if you think, well, I'm here anyway, might as well have a go at trying it a different way. So I'm going to ask you to draft your first paragraph answer to this question in a moment. Now, if you're aiming for top marks with a language question, you probably need to write 2 to 3 paragraphs. Let's say 2 to 3 paragraphs if you're on the AQA board and you're looking at language paper 1, question 2, isn't it? Question 2, yeah. 3 paragraphs. So you're going to need 3 distinct points. So I want you to think of what your first point might be, what you might write about. So you're going to pick a language feature that's being used in the extract that you think that's being used to make tea sound important. When you've picked that out, you can have a go at writing your first paragraph. In a minute or two, I'll give you a simple model answer. And if you want to, you can share your work in the chat box so everybody can have a look, or you can do it on your paper if you prefer. Right, I'm going to just pop on the screen my model answer for you. I'm not going to give a grade to this answer, but it's not a grade 8 or 9 answer. It's just a simple demonstration of how you would use this paragraphing structure. So how you would use what, where, how, why. If you want to have a little read through and see what I've written and see how that might work with your own paragraphing structure or your own ideas, feel free to. Otherwise, carry on writing. Right, we're almost at the end of the session, and I don't want to run over too far because it's a school night. Um, in Advanced Trailblazers, what would normally happen at this stage of the session is that I would ask people to put their first paragraph into the chat box, and then I give live feedback directly to each person who has shared their paragraph, or I invite them to send me their paragraphs afterwards and I'll give them a bit of light feedback that way instead. So everybody does get their paragraph looked at and some feedback to help them improve. But this is a taster session, and there's about 20 of you in the session, and there's not normally that many people in Trailblazers, so it's a lot easier for me to give individual feedback. At the end of every session, I like to give you an independent challenge, something you can either carry on working on after the session or do for homework if you want to build on what we cover in the session. And the independent challenge for this session would be to write a full 3 or 4 paragraph answer to the question, how does the writer use language to describe the importance of tea? And you would build a paragraph around 3 or 4 different points, different features, different ways that the writer uses language to show how important tea is. So the very last thing to do before you all are free for the evening is to give me a quick self-assessment score in the chat box. So how did you find today's session, and how much did you enjoy today's session? For example, you might have found it very easy, and you didn't enjoy it at all, in which case you'd be an A1. Or you might be somewhere between an A and a B, so you might put A, B, 3. Let me know in the chat box how you got on with the taster session. Excellent. Right. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope that even if you don't come to Advanced Trailblazers in the future, that you can take away with you today some new knowledge about anaphora, epiphora, and aphorism. If you would like to join me for Advanced Trailblazers, it runs on Wednesday nights or Saturday mornings. There's 2 separate groups, and you can have a chat with your adult about that if that's something you'd like to do with me. Thank you, like I said, for coming along, and I wish you all the best for your future studies.